another session of CaN, Gallant Current Affairs and News Analysis. So here we will be discussing the current affairs of November 7 to 11th. So these are the following topics I have with me today. Regarding the polity, I will be dealing about Article 200, Chief Information Commissioner, the cash for query scams, or we have to mainly look about the Ethics Committee in the Parliament. Then we have a Project 39A, Nagaland 371A, the Act dealing with the Nagaland special provisions for Nagaland. Then regarding economy, we have the Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement. In national relations, we have the India-Bhutan relations because new rail links and such has been inaugurated. So we will be looking on to that too. Agartala, Akura link, India-Bangladesh relations are also here. Then we have the Indo-Pacific Maritime Domains Awareness Initiative together with the core countries which have developed for the initiative of Indo-Pacific region. Then we have the major Congo displacement issues. We need to know the bordering countries of Congo and such. We have the 2+2 dialogue that is actually happening between India and USA country. We have the NAM 200 regarding the Indo-Sri Lanka relationships. Regarding environment and ecology, we have the Red Sanders, a tree. So we have to look into that. Then there was a volcanic eruption happening in Russia. So we need to look at the Krovitsky volcano in Russia. Then the production gap report has been actually recently given out. So we need to look about the production gap report. Kerala, the organic farming has been actually started in Kerala as well. Then WHO Globe TB report. Then regarding science and tech, we have the deep tech, net neutrality, Helios that is actually situated in Aditya L1. Then we have the MiG-21 which is actually currently in the stage of phasing out. So these are all the important topics which we need to discuss today. So first moving on to the polity topic. First question regarding, consider the following statements about the Chief Information Commissioner. The Chief Information Commissioner was established by the central government in 2005 under the provisions of the Right to Information Act of 2005. Then it consists of Chief Information Commissioner and not more than 5 Information Commissioner. The jurisdiction of Commission extends over to all of central public authorities. They do not have suo motu powers, and while inquiring, the Commission has the powers of the civil court. They can actually summon, also summoning, requesting documents, etc. So we need to choose a number of correct statements from here. So the CIC was indeed, the Chief Information Commissioner was actually indeed formed as a part of the Right to Information Act, RTI Act 2005. They deal with the queries of informations and such. Now this body consists of 1 Chief Information Commissioner plus 10 other Information Commissioner. It is shown 5 here, so this statement is actually wrong. The jurisdiction of the Commission also extends all over. It is a very central Chief Information Commissioner. So it actually controls or extends all of the central public authorities. They do not have suo motu powers, that is very wrong. They actually have suo motu powers. They can actually take cases on their own without anyone actually filing a complaint. They can actually take cases on their own without anybody's complaint. Also while inquiring, they have suo motu powers. So from this we have to choose a number of correct statements. So here only 2 statements are correct here. So here 2 statements, the first statement and also the 4 statements. First statement and 4 statements are correct here. The middle 2 statements are actually wrong here. So if you are looking at the Chief Information Commissioner, as I have told you, there was a Chief Information Commissioner who was sworn in by the President named Hiralal Samriya. He was also the first person from the Dalit community to hold the post of the Chief Information Commissioner. This was established in 2005 under the provisions of the Right to Information Act. That is Chief Information Commissioner plus not more than 10 other Information Commissioners. They are appointed by the President on the recommendation of a committee. There is a particular committee who actually recommends. It includes Prime Minister, then Leader of Opposition from Lok Sabha, and also which is the largest opposition party, and then a Union Cabinet Minister. Cabinet Minister who is actually nominated by PM. So this is the body which actually elects the Chief Information Commissioner. There is the Prime Minister himself, then there is the Leader of Opposition of the largest party in Lok Sabha, then there is a Union Cabinet Minister who is actually nominated by the Prime Minister himself. So this is the appointing committee. They recommend the name to the President, and then finally the President appoints the Chief Information Commissioner. So The tenure of the Chief Information Commissioner, the tenure includes they shall hold office for a term prescribed by the central government up to the age of 65 years. They hold the age up to the term and tenure that is prescribed to 65 years of age, whichever is actually earlier. The power and the duty involve the duty of the commission to receive and inquire into complaint from any person. They can inquire into any complaint as they want, and the commission they can inquire in reasonable ground. They have actually suo motu powers. So I have told you in the class they can actually have suo motu powers, and they actually act, they have the powers of a civil court while they are actually inquiring. Moving on, we have the next question about Article 200. So looking at the statement, it grants the governor the power to reserve the bill for the president consideration. The governor may return an ordinary bill for reconsideration, and if passed again by the house, assent cannot be withheld. We need to choose the correct statement. The thing is that there has been a lot of issue happening between the governor and the legislative assembly, where the legislative assembly, the passed bill from the legislative assembly is not given assent by the governor. The governor sits on that particular bill for a long time and then it actually because of which the entire validity of the bill actually goes. So this is happening in Kerala, in Tamil Nadu, in Punjab, where all the governors who are actually centrally elected. This happened mainly in states where the the ruling party in the state is actually not the BJP. Especially if you are looking in Kerala, it's not BJP ruling here. So the governor actually puts a stop on all the bills happening. Similar case happens in Tamil Nadu and Punjab as well. So this is not the first case that has been happening. Even in Punjab, a lot of bills have been pending since 2021-22 onwards. So that much bill is actually pending in front of the governor to give the assent. So as per Article 200, it gives an assent for the governor to give assent to the bill, or to withhold the assent, or reject the bill altogether, or the governor can actually recommend or give the bill to the president. The governor has the power to reserve the bill for the consideration of the president as well. So these are the powers that is actually given to the governor as per Article 200. The thing is that a lot of reforms need to be taken in the post of governor, because governors are delaying the bill, important bills as such, by not giving assent and sitting on the bill altogether. So this case has been going on news, and we need more reforms in the post of governor as such. So it grants the governor the power to reserve the bill for the president's consideration. That's a true statement. In the case of an ordinary bill, if the governor sends back to the legislature for reconsideration, if the legislative assembly passes that bill again, then the governor should actually give his assent. But in some cases also, even after the second time, the legislative assembly has passed the bill and given to the governor has not given his assent again. So similar cases are actually happening. So here both the statements are correct. Statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 is correct explanation of statement 1. So if you are looking Article 200, as I have told you, the governor can actually assent the bill, withhold the assent, or reserve the bill for the consideration of the president. The governor may also return the bill with the message requesting the reconsideration of the bill. If the the legislative assembly passed the bill again without any reconsideration or without any amendments, the governor is actually bound to give the assent as well. As per Article 201, it states that the bill is reserved for consideration of the president. The president may assent or withhold assent to the bill. So that is what Article 200 and 201 is actually talking about. Consider the following statements about the Ethics Committee. Now this Ethics Committee has been in news for a long time. This Ethics Committee is actually relatively new. We saw an article dealing with the Ethics Committee and the Parliamentary Privileges Committee. So here usually this kind of matters regarding the unethical conduct and such other like discharge of privileges are actually given to the Parliamentary Privilege Committee. But this is the first time this actually is given to the Ethics Committee as such. From the Lok Sabha, there is actually 15 members in the Ethics Committee, and in the case of Rajya Sabha, there is actually 10 members within this Ethics Committee. So there is separate Ethics Committee for both the Lok Sabha as well as the Rajya Sabha. So if you are looking, the members of the Ethics Committee is appointed by the President. Any person can file a complaint against the MP without the needful evidence or an affidavit. Here the thing is, both the statements are actually wrong here. Now there is something which is actually Parliamentary Committee, something which is happening within the Parliament. So you need to think that this is not given by the President. This is actually appointed by the Speaker. The Ethics Committee are appointed by the Speaker in the case of Lok Sabha. And the thing is that if a particular complaint, the Speaker refers a particular person complaint to the Ethics Committee, there should be proper evidence or affidavit. If a speaker refers me to the ethics committee, the speaker should have proper evidence that I have been doing some fraud or some ethical misconduct in place. If I am myself going to the ethics committee and saying that I have done some fraud, I have done some unethical conduct, which means that there is no need of evidence because I am reporting myself there. So that is the thing which we need to deal about this ethics committee. So here neither 1 or 2. We need to choose the correct answer here, none of it is true. So neither 1 nor 2. So if you are looking here, the main thing is they actually examine the complaints of the unethical code. They actually give out a moral code of conduct for the parliament to follow. They also suggest amendments, addition and such. So that is the main agenda of the ethics committee. Now this ethics committee is appointed by the speaker for a period of 1 year. It is appointed by the speaker for a period of 1 year and president has no role within this. The procedure of complaint, as I have told you, there should be proper evidence or affidavit relating to whatever misconduct and a particular MP has actually done. Anyone can actually give a complaint, but the complaint has to go to the speaker via an MP only. So that is how it is done. If I am myself going and complaining, if an MP is going and complaining himself or herself, then there is no need for evidence or affidavit is actually required. This committee also presents the report to the parliament and they can actually have a half-an-hour discussion about the report as well. So that is what this ethics committee is actually dealing about. Moving on, with reference to project 39A, consider the following statements. There is a criminal reforms advocacy group with the National Law University of Delhi. It is inspired by Article 39A of the Indian Constitution and aims to provide the re-examination of practices and policies of the criminal justice system. Annual Death Penalty Report 2022 is actually released by Project 39A. Here all the statements are actually correct here. The Project 39A is actually a group within this National Law University of Delhi and they actually look into what all reforms that can be actually made in the criminal justice system. They also released a death penalty report of 2022 which actually gave us the shocking results of the number of death penalties that is actually assigned in India and how it actually been increasing and what all should be done. So that is all mentioned in this annual death report that is actually given out by Project 39A. So here, as I have told you, here all the 3 statements are actually correct. Here we need to choose a number of correct statements. So here all the 3 statements are actually correct here. So if you are looking, as I have told you, in news what happened is Supreme Court actually called for reforming the death penalty. Sentencing, the trial court awarded 165 death penalties in 2022 alone. 165 death penalties have been actually given by trial courts in 2022. This is the highest that has been there over 2 decades because the death penalty has been actually increasing and majority of the death penalties now is actually ascended by these trial courts and not by the High Court or that of the Supreme Court. So there has been an increasing in the number of death penalty that has been given. So this annual death penalty report of 2022 which is actually given by Project 39A also talks about this one. As I have told you, Project 39A, this is a reforms advocacy group with the National Law University of Delhi. This is mainly inspired by the Article 39A which actually looks into giving the reforms of criminal justice system as such. They also aim to trigger new conversation of legal aid to actually give out reforms of the criminal justice system, give out empirical research system, reduce the number of death penalty or how is the death penalty is actually given, the mental health kind of thing is actually considered or not. So they actually look into a lot of this. So that is what Project 39A is actually aiming at. So if you are looking at the annual death report that is actually given out by Project 39A, you will be shocked that 165 death sentence alone is awarded by the trial court in 2022. Now there has been a sharp increase in the number of death penalty that has been actually given. Example, just there has been extraordinary sentencing of 38 persons. 38 persons were actually given death sentence for the 2016 for a single case of bomb blast in Ahmedabad in 2016. 38 people were actually given death penalty for a single case in the Ahmedabad bombing case. So that is one prime example of how the death sentence has been actually given. For a bomb case and such, yes, it is loss of life. But for all the 38%, death penalty is actually a bit extreme as well. Then nearly 98% of the death penalty cases were decided by the trial courts. Now this is not decided by the high courts or even the Supreme Court. 98%, close to 98% were actually decided by the trial courts without any materials or mitigation. They didn't have even proper evidence, and they actually decided the death penalty for these persons. Now there is actually 40% increase since 2015 for the people who are in death row. About, as you can see the numbers, 539 prisoners are on death row currently. There is actually a 40% increase since 2015. There has been an increase in the number of death sentences that has been actually awarded. Even when the death sentence are commuted, it is only commuted to more life imprisonment of life sentence without any remission. Death penalty is avoided even when the death penalty is actually commuted. It mainly changes into life imprisonment without any remission. So that is what we can actually see from action here. Majority of this death sentence are actually given for sexual offenders because they actually undergo sexual violence, and about half of the people who got death penalty are based on the sexual violence. Also, most death row prisoners are actually economically vulnerable. They didn't have proper representation or lawyers or such, and they were actually economically vulnerable. So these was all what the report has actually found out. So the annual death report is actually given by Project 39A. Project 39A main aim is to actually bring reforms in the criminal justice system, and they are actually within the National Law University of Delhi. So remember what Project 39A is. Moving on, consider the following statements about Article 371A. 371A of the Constitution grants special provisions to Nagaland to protect their unique cultural and tribal identities. Article 371A ensures that the acts of the Parliament do not apply to the Nagaland concerning Naga region and social practices only. So here only the first statement is actually correct, the second statement is actually wrong. This is not just related to the religious and social perspective of the Nagas, but it actually goes beyond that to their economic, to their religious belief, or social, everything. For each and every law of the Parliament is actually not applicable to the Nagaland area, as they actually come under the special provisions of Article 371A. So as per the question, we need to choose a correct one. Here statement 1 is correct, but the statement 2 is actually incorrect. So the recently what was in action news is that Nagaland Assembly actually passed a bill to increase the reservation, to put women reservation in their urban local bodies. So Nagaland Assembly on Thursday unanimously passed Nagaland Municipal Bill in 2023, reserving 1/3 of the seats in the urban local bodies for women. But the thing is that the provision of 1/3 reservation is actually not given to the chairperson level in the urban local body. They are actually given to the local levels, lower levels, but not the level of chairpersons. Then, and for taxes on land and buildings have not been included in the new bills. For all these cases has not been actually included in the new bill. Article 371, as I have told you, gives special provisions to Nagaland, and the Parliament or the Parliament Direct Law does not come into effect in the Nagaland area. To come into effect in the Nagaland area, the Nagaland Legislative Assembly has to pass a resolution regarding the same. Then only this law will come into effect in the Nagaland region. So all these laws, the special provisions actually aim at preserving the local customs, their beliefs and such and practices, and also the land ownership within the areas of Nagaland. So that is what the Article 371A is dealing about. So mainly these kind of special provisions is actually given to the northeast areas. So we have Article 371 dealing about special provisions in Maharashtra and Gujarat. Article 371A, as I have told you, Nagaland. 371B deals with Sikkim. Then we have C dealing with Manipur. We have 371D dealing with Andhra Pradesh or the state of Telangana. E dealing with Andhra Pradesh. F dealing with Sikkim. G dealing with Mizoram. So you should have an idea of which all states are mentioned under this Article 371 and their subparts as well. You need to have a general idea because mainly this deals with the northeast area and some other states of the central India as well. So that is what is dealing with Article 371. Moving on to the economy section, we have the double tax avoidance agreement. So based on it, India presently has double tax avoidance agreement signed with more than 80 countries. It makes the taxpayers pay double taxes on the same income in the mother country as well as the working country. With the double tax avoidance agreement, the withholding tax does not exceed 5% of most favored nations. So I will explain what is this double tax avoidance agreements, DTAA. Presently I am taking an example of myself. I am working in a private company in India. Okay, now the company sent me to work abroad on site. I am going to work in USA. Okay, I am an Indian citizen sent by an Indian company to work in USA. The thing is that where will my income tax be taken up? I am an Indian working in a foreign country. So am I liable to pay? I am actually liable to pay a part of my income tax to the Indian company as well, to India as well. But the present salary I am getting is actually from USA and not from India. So they are liable to tax an income tax on my present salary. So I am actually double taxed. I am also taxed from India and also taxed from USA. Now I have to pay the double tax from the same income. If I am actually earning about $10,000 per month, okay, I have to pay a minimum dollar tax to India as well as to USA, where I am actually charged double. So what they do, the India and the USA come into agreement. That's a double tax avoidance, where I just have to pay minimum. They will actually come into an agreement on how much income tax I have to actually pay. India currently has a double tax avoidance agreement with more than actually 80 plus countries, like we have USA, UK, Australia, Germany, UAE. We have a lot of DTAA with a lot of countries all over the world. So that a person who is actually working in India and abroad don't have to face or don't have to pay actually double taxation. So if we are looking at this, the second statement comes wrong, because we don't have to pay a double tax. This double tax which have to pay will be actually avoided. So that is the whole point of double tax avoidance agreement. So with that, the second statement is actually wrong. With the DTAA, the withholding tax does not exceed 5%. Now that is actually a different concept. With the most favored nation, we can actually keep a fixed percentage of tax for all the countries which we have a most favored nation MFN status with. It's not just limited to 5%. The both countries can actually come into agreement and decide whatever they want with. So here if I am looking Netherlands, France countries, we have a withholding tax of about 10%. But some other countries like Slovenia and such, we have only tax about 5%. So the entire reason of this DTAA being in the newspaper is regarding the withholding tax percentage as such. So we will be looking into the case as well. So as I have told you, here we need to choose a number of correct statements. So here only first statement is actually correct here. The second statement and third statement is actually wrong. So if you are looking, the DTAA, as I have told you, is a double tax avoidance agreement that is come between two countries, like I have told you, between India and USA, so that a single person or a company will not be actually charged double tax in both the working country as well as the mother country. Now they can be comprehensive and the income sources can be actually discussed between both the nations. India currently has such a kind of treaty with almost 80 plus countries. We have Australia, UAE, Germany, Mauritius, Singapore, UK and USA as the main partners as such, where we have this DTAA with. The thing is that some countries, as I have told you, Netherlands, France and Switzerland, we have about 10% withholding tax, like DTAA was given as 10% with these countries. Whereas certain other countries like Slovenia, Colombia and Lithuania, we have only 5% tax. The thing is that both the countries are actually part of the OECD. That is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. The thing what the country is asking, that we all are members of the OECD, but why are we actually taxed differently? So the Netherlands, France and Switzerland were not happy with the 5% tax they were getting, but they had to actually pay 10% withholding tax within India, and these countries only had to pay 5%. Now this actually creates a lot of problem, because all these actually enjoy the most favored nation status and all the countries are coming under the OECD as well. But why do they have to actually pay differently? What India presented in the Supreme Court is that these countries, we already had an agreement with these countries even before they actually joined OECD. So after they joined OECD, we did not actually make any kind of rearrangement in the present agreement. These countries joined even before India had this double tax avoidance agreement with these countries before they joined OECD. So whatever these countries were actually stating was not coming in matter with the Supreme Court. So that is what this most favored nation and the DTAA that has been actually mentioned in this article has been about. So the DTAA is actually very important from your economy part. So please revise it. Next we will be actually entering into the international relations and the reason as well. So let us consider the first question regarding the Democratic Republic Congo, the bordering countries as well. So Congo has been in news recently because the DRC there has been a lot of internal displacements happening within the DRC. So we need to look into the bordering countries of DRC as well. We have Congo, Angola, Rwanda, Gabon, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Burundi and Uganda. So we need to know which all countries are actually surrounding it. So if you are looking at this map, this is the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is the second largest African country, the second largest African country in Africa. So you can look, we have South Sudan here, Uganda here, Rwanda and Burundi here. We have Tanzania, Zambia, Angola, Congo. This is the Republic of Congo. And this is the Democratic Republic of Congo. So both these Congo, there is actually difference as well. And we have the Central African Republic, which leaves that Gabon is actually not a part or not bordering with the Democratic Republic of Congo. So if you are looking in this question, we have this Republic Congo, we have the Republic of Congo, we have Angola, Rwanda, Gabon is not there, we have South Sudan, Central African Republic, Burundi and Uganda. So with this we have only 7 countries which are actually bordering the Democratic Republic of Congo. You should remember that there is actually Republic of Congo as well as the Democratic Republic of Congo. These both are not same, as you have seen, these are both different countries as well. So that is Congo and this is the Democratic Republic of Congo. Almost 9 countries actually surround this Democratic Republic of Congo as well. So this is the 4th largest country which has the most number of bordering nations as such. So we need to request how much countries are actually bordering this Congo, because it has been in news and there is a lot of important mineral resources that are actually present in Congo, which makes it more important as well. So this particular area, the displacement, and there has been a lot of disturbances happening within the bordering areas of Congo since 1990s as well. So let us look into the history of the disturbances in Congo. So as I have told you, Congo is the second largest country in the African region. So till 1960s, this Congo was actually ruled by Belgium. Not just Congo, but Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, was also ruled by Belgium. So after Belgium, a decolonization process happened. Belgium withdrew and they actually created their own democratic government and they started election as well. But this was just in paper. They were not truly democratic, or the elections was actually not democratic as it was said. And later this democratic government, whatever they established, changed into a dictatorship kind of model, and this country, the Congo, DRC, was under a dictatorship for almost 3 decades or 30 years. The thing is that this area is pretty much big for a single dictatorship to hold everything together. So after some time, revolts started happening all over. Especially if you are looking, we can actually find revolt in this particular area in the eastern border. We have the North Kivu and the South Kivu, which has actually caused a lot of revolts and revolutions were happening from this particular sector as well. Now this is just one factor explaining what is happening displacement in Congo. There is also another factor towards it, that is Rwanda. The thing is, in 1994, a major genocide happened in Rwanda. There are 2 major ethnic communities there in Rwanda. One is Hutu, which is in majority. Then there is Tutsi, which is in actually minority. So if you are actually looking in 1994, what happened is that Hutu actually attacked this Tutsi. Tutsi, they were actually in majority, and because of it, almost 10 lakh people were actually, 10 lakh Tutsi community was actually killed. It was one of the worst genocide that actually happened in 1994. So the Tutsi community, what happened is they actually started migrating from Rwanda to Congo in this eastern border region. Now already there are a lot of rebels and wars happening there. So the Tutsi community also migrated to this area and started developing their own militant groups, like sometimes M23 has been mentioned. It is one of the Tutsi rebel groups as such. Now this particular area became so unstable that even the government lost the control within this particular area. Another thing which you need to know here is that this M23 has been trying to get back or take control of the government in Rwanda as well. This area is particularly very rich in mineral resources like cobalt, you can find gold, titanium, etc. So this particular area is actually very rich in mineral resources. So what these rebels do is that they actually illegally mine all these resources and then sell it again to earn money as well. So some countries like Uganda and Burundi and such actually help this area to be unstable, so that they can actually get favored some land and get the mining of the minerals as well. So because of that, there is no government control within that particular area. Other countries like Uganda, Burundi as well try to maintain that area very unstable, so that in the future they can actually get some land and minerals from this area. A lot of countries including China, India and everybody is actually interested in this particular mineral resources, because the cobalt, gold and such is actually the future, and all the electronic items, even our phones and lap, everything is actually cobalt is actually required for the manufacturing and all the semiconductors as such. So because of which this particular area is actually of very important, and the government of the DRC totally lost control over this, and the M23 migrant militant group is actually trying to control the government of Rwanda as well. So this has been what has been actually happening. In all this, what has happened is that the people have suffered a lot. About 6.9 million people has been actually displaced within this DRC region. Now they might be actually settled down in areas where there are actually minerals. So these particular people are actually displaced so that the minerals can be extracted. Also the political government is very unstable in this particular area, because of which the Congo, whatever displacement and migration is happening within Congo is actually affecting the lives of millions of people. About close to 6.9 million people has been actually affected in this area. So there is a history of displacement of Congo, and why there is a lot of countries looking into it, and why there is a lot of rebel and revolts happening in this particular area as such. So that this was actually news. In this, what you need to know is the major countries that is actually surrounding Congo as well. In our previous year, we actually saw the countries which are actually surrounding Ukraine. You had a 2023 PYQ regarding that, about the countries which are actually surrounding Ukraine as well. So similarly, in the next year, we can actually find such questions as well. Moving on, consider the following statement. Which country is developing a smart city at Galpago, which is actually bordering with India? So you can see Galpago is actually a country, is actually a place in Bhutan. So we have India, Bhutan developing this Galpago area, as well as Sarpang district. This Galpago has actually Sarpang district, where the Bhutan is also trying to establish a special economic zone, so they can actually employ their youth, because India but Bhutan actually has a lot of friendships happening. So we are also planning a rail link between Kokranjar in Assam and Gelapu in Bhutan. So that's why it has been in news. We are actually going to create a rail network connecting both these areas, so there is more employment opportunity, and the Bhutan can actually establish some of its economic relations with India also. So this has been in news recently. Consider the following statements about the India Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness Initiative, IPMDA. It was launched as the 2022 Quad Summit to provide support to Southeast Asia, Indian Ocean and the Pacific region. It aims to enhance the maritime domain awareness in the Indo-Pacific region. So which are the following is the correct statement. So this was actually launched in the Goa maritime country. This was actually launched by the Quad nations in 2022. So the main thing is to actually avoid dark shipping. This to bring more transparency and accountability of whatever ships are coming into the Indian Ocean, Pacific and Southeast Asian region. So they have more transparency, we have more transparency, and these areas are particularly crucial because we have the Strait of Malacca, we have a lot of states and such, and these are important key shipping routes as well. So the Quad has been actually put up this with this Indo-Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness Initiative, so that the dark shipping within this area can be actually avoided. The dark shipping particularly means that the particular ships that are approaching, the identification of the ship is not actually possible. So they might off their radar or some kind of, because of which the ship identification will not be possible. So such kind of dark shipping has to be actually tracked, so that this particular area can be kept safe. So that is the main initiative of this Quad grouping, which actually came in the Tokyo Summit 2022 of Quad. It also aims to maintain the dominance awareness of the Indo-Pacific region. So here both statements, statement 1 and statement 2 is correct, and statement 2 is also the correct explanation of statement 1. So if you are looking, track the dark shipping. and build a faster, wider and more accurate maritime picture of the Indian Ocean region, Pacific Ocean as well as Southeast Asian region. So, also enhance the maritime security, increase the awareness in particular region and also bring more transparency within this. It also aims to enable partners nation to fully monitor the region, which will in turn uphold the aim of free and open Indo-Pacific. So, this is the main aim of what has been actually given out. With reference to 2+2 ministerial dialogue between India and the United States, which of the following statements is incorrect? In 2+2 ministerial dialogue involves the Prime Minister and the Defence Minister of both countries. Make this question as correct. 2+2 involves the Prime Minister and the Defence Minister. Then this diplomatic summit aimed to discuss and work on the issues to improve India-USA relationship. India has similar ministerial dialogue with only 3 other countries. So if you are looking at the first statement is actually wrong. We have this 2+2 ministerial dialogue usually with the Foreign Minister and Defence Minister of 2 countries. So the Foreign Minister and the Defence Minister of the 2 countries of India and USA will be actually meeting together. The Prime Minister is actually not in the picture during this 2+2 meeting dialogues. So usually in this dialogue they talk about the bilateral issues and the global issues, about the relations that are happening between India and USA regarding the foreign field as well as the military field, because we are actually going to buy a lot of drones, MQ-9B drones from USA and such. So such kind of deals will be actually made and they will be solidified in these kinds of agreements. Also the global issues like what about the happening in Ukraine, then what is happening in Israel and Palestine. So all these global issues will be talked about as well. So that will actually increase the connection that is happening in between India and USA as well. India has similar ministerial dialogue with 3 other countries only, that is a true statement. We have ministerial dialogue with the Quad countries. We have USA, we have Australia, we have Japan as the other 3 countries in the Quad, and we have Russia. So we have also told about India and USA having the 2+2 ministerial dialogue. The other countries include USA, Japan and Russia, the only 3 other countries which we have the 2+2 dialogue with. So here second statement and the third statement is correct. We need to choose the number of correct statements. So here only 2 statements are correct and the first statement is actually wrong here. It's not the Prime Minister but the Defence Minister and the Minister of External Affairs or the Foreign Minister. The Agartala-Ankura rail link connecting which of the following countries? We have India, Nepal, India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, Myanmar. So this Agartala, as you can see, it's actually in India. So Agartala-Ankura rail link actually connects Tripura with Akura, that is in the Bangladesh region. So this is a 15 kilometer railing. It's a very small railing that is actually connecting Agartala and Ankura in Tripura and Bangladesh. So if you are looking at this map here, the orange ones are the rail lines within India and the red ones are from which are connecting India to Bangladesh region. So if you are looking, this was a new bridge that was connected. Earlier we had to travel from Agartala, we had to travel from here to here. If we need to go to Kolkata, we need to travel all around this Bangladesh to actually reach Kolkata. And now already they have an established connection halfway here. With this smaller connection, we can actually travel from Agartala to Kolkata via Bangladesh, just reducing the time frame as well. So that is how this Agartala-Ankura railing has been made, which actually creates a particular connection within this area, so that we can travel from this Tripura area, Agartala area to Kolkata directly through Bangladesh region. So this is all the other railings. We have other railings which are actually red railings, also shows the other railings that are actually connecting small areas, the bordering areas of Indo-Bangladesh region. NAM 2000 recently mentioned in news is related to, it commemorates 200 years of the arrival of Indian origin Tamils in Sri Lanka, a cultural festival showcasing Sri Lankan heritage, a maritime exercise between India and Sri Lanka, first genetically modified lotus in India. So NAM 200 actually deals with the 200 years of the arrival of Indian origin Tamils in Sri Lanka. You know the intended labour system where the British actually transported Indians to the other countries like Sri Lanka, Fiji and such, so that the Indians can actually work in the plantation system. After the time period has ended, these people, the intended labour, settled down in this particular countries for the since 200 years, and they are now particularly part. Now you can see the Tamils, Sri Lankan Tamils. They have Indian origin where the Indians were actually taken 200 years before by the British to Sri Lanka. And after Sri Lanka got the independence, what happened is that the government that formed created that these Tamils are not part of Sri Lanka and was has to go back, and this Tamil was actually made stateless, because of which a lot of civil wars are actually happening. Now we can see particularly some of peaceful relations happening between the Sri Lankan Tamil as well as the Sinhala Buddhists in Sri Lankan region. So the Nam 200 mainly used to commemorate of 200 years of the arrival of Indian origins Tamil in Sri Lanka. Next, moving on, we will be moving on to the environment section. Global TB report is published by which of the following organization? World Health Organization, National Institute of Health USC, Center for Global Health and Prevention, Indian Council of Medical Research. So the global TB report is actually given by who? It shows that about 7.5 million people are in TB again. So we will be looking at the report as well, which has been published by Global TB. There was actually major global recovery in the number of people who have been actually diagnosed with TB, but due to COVID and such, lot of reportings when lot of cases in TB were actually not reported. So that actually created a much more bulk reporting after the COVID years. So while this started to reverse the model, TB remains the world's second leading cause of death from a single infection agent, and the global TB have either been missed or remain off track. So as per WHO, they want to eliminate the TB by 2030. But in India, we have actually get that target by about 2025. So there are still problems within India. If you are looking about within India, we have like problems where we are not able to identify the proper cases. We have certain kind of machines like spear microscopy as well, but they are not very effective in tracking all of this TB cases, and their accuracy is pretty much very less. A lot of cases go unreported. So that is the problem that has been happening, and it's already 2023 and we have a lot more cases. If you are looking at like India, Indonesia something, we actually goes about 68% of the total global TB that has been actually reported by WHO. The net reduction from 2015-22 was actually 8.7% from the WHO and TB strategy milestone of a 50% reduction by 2025. The report of the global number of people newly diagnosed was about 7.5 million in 2022. As I have told you, during the COVID times and all, a lot of TB cases was not reported. So everything came into bulk after the COVID time, and now presently there are about 7.5 million people, new people, who are actually reported to have TB as such. This is the highest number of cases that has been actually reported in WHO since they have actually started monitoring this TB in 1995. The number in 2002 probably includes the sizable backlogs. As I have told you, it includes the backlogs of people during the COVID period. India, Indonesia and the Philippines, we collectively have about 60%. So I have told you, India, Indonesia and Philippines, we collectively have about 60% of all the TB cases within the world. And the TB caused an estimated 1.3 million deaths in 2022. So these are some of the data that has been actually given in the global TB report by WHO as such. Moving on, consider the following statements about Kamchatka Peninsula. As I have told you, there was recent volcanic eruptions happening in Russia. So we need to read about this Kamchatka Peninsula. It lies between the Sea of Okhotsk and the Sea of Japan. It is one of the largest peninsulas in the world. It is one of the world's most concerned area for geothermal activity and is a part of the Ring of Fire. We need to choose a number of incorrect statements from this. So if you are looking, you can see the Klachevsky volcano, which in Russia, which actually erupted recently, is one of the tallest active volcano in the Eurasian region, and this actually erupted recently. There was huge ash columns all visible along with this. This actually erupted more than 50 times since 1700. So that has been the Klachevsky volcano. Now this volcano is particularly situated in the Kamchatka Peninsula, and this peninsula falls under the Ring of Fire. You can see the Kamchatka Peninsula. Now this is between the Bering Sea as well as the Sea of Japan is here. So this is the Kamchatka Peninsula which we have been talking about. So this is actually close to the Ring of Fire region. So this is Ring of Fire region, and this has almost, the Kamchatka Peninsula has almost about 30 active volcanoes in this area. Now there is the land of fire and ice. It is mainly very cold, but it has a lot of active volcanoes. This is actually between the Bering Sea and the Sea of Okhotsk. They are active volcanoes and they are strategically important for Russia. So if you are actually going back to our question, we can see it lies between Sea of Okhotsk and Sea of it's actually between the Bering Sea. It is the largest peninsula one of the largest peninsula in the world, and one of the most concerned area because a lot of geothermal activity happens here because of the Ring of Fire. We need to choose a number of incorrect statements. So, here only one statement is actually incorrect. Which state recently launched the organic farming vision for more sustainable climatic smart agriculture? So, it was actually Sikkim, not Sikkim, Kerala recently started this organic so that there can be more sustainable kind of agriculture happening. Sikkim is the first state to all go organic actually. Okay, Kerala recently went completely organic. Sikkim was the first one to actually completely go organic. So, don't confuse between Kerala and Sikkim. Consider the following statements about the production gap report. It assesses the government's planned and projected production of coal, oil, gas in alignment with the Paris agreements of limiting the climate temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius. It is prepared by multiple organizations like the Stockholm Environment Institute, UNEP, EG3 Climate Analysis, International Institute of Sustainable Development. The newly released report states that the government plans to produce twice as much as fossil fuels in 2023 than in consistency with the limiting warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Here the thing is, all the three statements are actually true here. The production gap report talks mainly about the fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas in alignment. The thing is that by 2040, as per the report that by 2030 stated that we will be using twice the amount of fossil fuels because that much energy demand is there and we will be using more and more of these, and this is actually prepared by these kinds of multiple organization as such. So, if you are looking at this particular graph, this is actually a graph that is actually taken from the production gap report. Now, you can see this violet here. This is the production that is needed to limit the temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This is the production to limit it to 2 degrees Celsius. This is what the countries have actually agreed upon. Production implied by the climate, this is what the pledges that the countries need. This is the level of production. See the gap. This is how much we are actually producing, and this is the production, how the production will actually increase. If you are looking at we are around here. Okay, 2023. This is by 2024. With the present amount of production in this, the coal, oil and gas, this is the amount of production or the increase that will go over the years. We are presently here. About 2023 we are here, and this is the data that is shown for 2024. There will be a consistent increase in the production of these kind of coals, and this is actually more than the pledges that has been made, and this is not going to limit. Whatever production we are going will not actually limit. If we need to limit, this production should come down. We should within this year, if we are taking 2020, this production has to actually come down if we have to actually follow this Paris climate agreement. So, that is how the production gap is actually from what we are actually present production capacity to what should be actually to attain, should actually come down to attain the Paris agreement's goal. There is a production gap increase as per there has been 240% more coal production, 57% of more of oil production and 17% more in gas production. This will be achieved by 2023. India is also not behind. India also plans to increase the coal production from about 730 million to about 1100 million tons. Also, we are aiming to increase the oil and gas production by 40%. So, that is some of the aims of India as well. The report also criticized the commitments that has been actually made by India as well. We were actually talking about the national determined contributors of how we are actually going to reduce and how we are actually going to transform from fossil fuel to more of renewable energy. So, the particular report also criticizes the actions of India as well. If you are looking, this is just the overall production. If you are looking individually, see, for coal, this is where we will be actually going, and this is what we need to achieve. Look at the production gap. Similarly, for oil, there will be an increase in production of oil compared to what is actually required. Similar case in the gas, where it is and what we actually should be actually achieving. So, this has been actually given by this production gap report. Now, you remember which all are the multiple organizations which actually gave out and what were the analysis that was being given by the production gap report. With respect to red sanders, consider the following statements. It is an Indian endemic species found only in the Western Ghats. It is categorized as critically endangered by the IUCN. Here both the statements are actually wrong. It is not critically endangered but only endangered as per the IUCN. It is endemic to India but not in the Western Ghats but at the Eastern Ghats. You can particularly find this in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu region. That's it. You cannot find these kind of particular kind of red sanders in the other areas. They have particular aromatic and this very endangered, but there is a lot of trafficking happening within this region for this red sanders as well. So that is what we need to know about the red sanders. It is actually endemic and found in the Eastern Ghats region as such. Now moving on to our last area, we have the science and tech. Consider the following statements about the net neutrality. Net neutrality is the principle that all the internet traffic should be actually treated equally without discrimination or preference given to any particular website as such. Without net neutrality, internet service providers could potentially use their market power to steer users towards a certain website and service or limit their access to others. The thing is that here both the statements are actually correct here. So net neutrality, as you read the first sentence, is that all the net traffic should be actually treated equally. I am purchasing a particular data plan sometimes from Jio. I'll be using the net for streaming OTT. I may be using it for social media. I may be using it for internet banking, or I may be using it for my research works or my studies. So they cannot deal how much charge, like if I am using OTT, you have to charge 200 rupees. If I am using for studies, I should charge only 10 rupees. If I am using for social media, I should charge 50 rupees. So the thing is that even if the data net is actually provided by these telecom companies and such, they cannot actually create discrimination between what all I am actually going to. If I am going to watch OTT, they cannot actually discriminate and tell that they should pay extra if I am actually going to stream OTT. So that is what net neutrality actually means. If there was no net neutrality, what happens is that Jio, as you can see, there is Jio Cinemas, there is My Jio. So there is a lot of Jio apps that are available right now. So they can actually overtake the other kind of platforms that are available. Now that particular telecom communicators can actually overtake, even therefore OTT for Airtel right now. So these kind of telecom operators could actually overtake and they can actually capture the entire market. So that is what particularly net neutrality is known as. So here statement 1 and statement 2 are correct and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. So if you are looking at the net neutrality, as I have told you, this was first coined by a Colombian law school professor known as Tim Wu. He states that it creates actually a level playing field for the internet and there will not be a kind of discriminations or whatever traffic or internet I will be using for whatever purpose as such. The thing here is that there has been a lot of complaints going from the telecom companies as such, because the OTT platforms are gaining a lot. Particularly if you are taking a telecom company, they are laying all the lines, all the internet service, they are also charging a particular data package. But the thing is that within the lines they have actually lined, the OTT platforms are actually earning much. We are viewing a lot in the OTT platform and they take a majority of our database as such. This whatever claims that has been actually made by the telecom companies goes against the concept of net neutrality, as I have told you what net neutrality is. The thing is that consumer, even if I am using it for OTT as such, majority for OTT, I am paying the data plan, I am buying the data plan within the full amount from this telecom companies. Now the telecom companies, just because I am using majority of my data to view OTT, this telecom companies cannot come and ask the OTT again to pay half of the price again. I am purchasing the particular data plan, you have to provide me internet, okay. See, the telecom companies provide me internet, I use the internet in whatever ways I want. So the telecom company, the OTT will not be liable to pay the full amount to that of telecom company. So that is not a net neutrality concept at all. The telecom companies want the streaming services like Netflix and Hotstar to help pay for the cost of the bandwidth, because here we are using the loss of bandwidth as well, their bandwidths. They claim that these services are free riders and benefit from the infrastructure built and maintained by the telecom company. So that is what the telecom companies are actually talking about. But that is whatever these telecom companies are stating as a reason is against net neutrality. The telecom companies don't own the internet, they just actually provide access to it. So we consumers actually pay for the internet. I pay for the internet, the data package, I may be doing rupees 19 for 1 GB and such. I may be purchasing it for 1 month altogether. So whatever I do with my internet is my own purpose. And the consumer, the OTT, even if a consumer is paying on the OTT, the OTT is not liable to pay extra amount to the telecom companies as well. If they are actually liable to pay extra amount to the telecom companies, now this burden comes again in the top of the consumer. Now suppose telecom companies this get passed, the telecom companies, now the OTTs is actually liable to pay commission or the extra amount to telecom companies. So this actually falls upon the part of the consumers as such. As OTT has to pay this amount, they put this, rebind this amount on top of the consumers, and if we want to watch OTT again, we have to pay extra as such. We can actually find that sometime, but these are not actually coming under the net neutrality policies as such. Telecom companies profit from this demand by providing connectivity and charging subscribers for it. If they can't cover their costs, they can actually raise their prices as well. So that is what net neutrality has been about. Also the TRAI has actually given guidelines for the net neutrality. To enforce this net neutrality in India, internet service providers actually cannot discriminate against specific content. If I am going for OTT or social media or for studies, the internet providers cannot actually create any kind of discriminations as such. Content delivery networks are actually not included in this regulation. They can allow telecom companies and deliver content without their own network instead of using the public internet, creating a separate content ecosystem. This actually benefits the telecom companies like Airtel and Reliance Jio as well. So that is what I have told you. Airtel and Reliance, they are actually creating their own content like OTT service and such. This is actually benefit their own as well. This IoT is also not excluded from these kind of non-discriminatory treatment rule. The TRAI also suggested setting up of organizations similar to a BARC India to enforce this concept of net neutrality, so that there is no kind of discrimination that is actually happening with this internet usage and such. Moving on, consider the following says about Helios, following papers: Helios, Papa, Welk. These are all used in actually Aditya L1. So let us look into what these are and then come back. Now recently this Helios was actually in news. Helios is actually high energy X-ray. It's actually high energy X-ray glimpse spectrometer, which actually got us a glimpse of the solar flares of the sun. So all this has been actually used in Aditya L1, so that we can actually study more about the sun, the solar flares, and such can be actually studied in much more detail. Now the first observation, like Aditya L1 still on its journey, but we actually got the first glimpse of the solar flares. Helios recorded the impulsive phase of the solar flares. The recorded data is consistent with the X-ray light curves provided by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric administrations as well. So that is what Helios space road has been actually dealing about. If we are looking into other kinds of space road along with this, we have VLEC, which actually looks into the corona imaging as such. We have SUIT, that is a photosphere, and which studies the photosphere and chromosphere of the sun. Then we have SOLAS and Helios, which is actually spectrometers. SOLAS is soft and then Helios is hard. Then we have aspects, which actually studies the solar wind and particle analyzer of the sun. We have PAPA, which actually studies Papa load, which actually studies about the solar wind, and we have MAG, that is a magnetic field around the sun. So this is all the place where the instruments, the 7 instruments are actually placed in Aditya L1. We can see here Solex here, SUIT, MELC, Papa load, all this which are actually placed in Aditya L1. So these are the factors as I have told you. Well, that is a visible emission line coronagraphy. This is the coronagraphy, that is well, which is actually used to study the solar corona dynamic and other solar masses. We have SOLAX, that is a solar low energy X-ray spectrometer, which is actually used to study the X-rays from the X-ray flares from the sun. Then magnetometers to study the magnetic field of the earth. Then we have SUIT, the solar ultraviolet imaging telescope, which actually images the solar photosphere and chromosphere. Photosphere and the chromosphere of the sun is actually studied. Then we have the aspects and the Papa load, which actually designed to study the solar winds and the energetic ions that is actually released by the by the sun. So remember what are the loads that actually went along with and what is their purpose as well. You need not dig deep into it, just know the name and what the content and what they are actually related into. So if you are looking at this question here, all the 3 statements are actually correct. We talked about, well, that is actually imaging of corona. We talked about Papa, which actually solar wind and particle analyzer. Helios hard X-ray spectrometer, which we actually got the first image of solar flares. So here the 3 pairs only are correct here. Moving on, MIG phase out. The thing is that MIG 21 has been actually in the phase of phasing out and is going to be replaced by the light combat aircraft Tejas as well. In the last few decades we have been using this MIG, we have witnessed about 400 accidents and about 200 pilots have actually died with the use of this MIG. So the Indian Army and the Air Force has been actually trying to phase out this MIG, but due to lack of decisions and the implement of Tejas and such, the phasing out of MIG and the induction of Tejas has been actually delayed by a lot of time. Now this MIG 21 will be actually phased out entirely by 2025. The IAF has also contracted about 83 light combat aircraft Mk-1A, that is referring to Tejas, and 2 squadrons of the Tejas has been actually inducted as well. So if you look in, this is the new Tejas, it's just 17.5 tons, that is the Tejas Mark II, which will be actually inducted into the Air Force. They have a new, this is more like new generation as well. Now, in the last topic we have, with respect to deepfakes, consider the following statement. Deepfakes refers to videos, audios, images which are actually created in the form of AI called the deep learning. The technology involves modifying or creating images and videos using machine learning techniques like generative adversarial network. As per the IT rules of 2021, it requires all content reported to be fake or produced using deepfake should be actually taken down by the intermediary platform by 36 hours. So here thing is that this deepfakes has been introduced recently. You might have seen the video of Rashmika Mandanna where the deepfake was actually used and her face was actually crafted in another woman, and this not just happened to the Rashmika Mandanna but also for the Katrina case. 2 such videos actually came out 1 week apart. So this deepfake has been in concern, this has been in place since 2017 as such, this deepfake. But the thing is that per year on year this deepfake has been actually developing, and now if we even look at the videos of the Rashmika Mandanna, you might feel that that is itself Rashmika Mandanna. So that which reality has been actually able to capture with this deepfake, and this is indeed actually developed by this generative adversarial network or using artificial intelligence. As per the IT rules, the intermediate platform has to actually take down within 36 hours, take down such kind of fake videos, it might be audios, any kind of photos within the 36 hours if it is actually reported as fake. So we need to choose the incorrect statement, all are correct here. So that is what deepfake is about. So remember the IT rules, so it can actually deepfake text, real time live can be also. We have seen a video of Barack Obama where he is actually criticizing Donald Trump and such videos of deepfake has been there all over. So this is, it can actually deepfake videos, photos, image, text, social media, anything can be deepfaked. So the intermediate platform, it is Facebook or Instagram or whatever, they have to take down this fake content within 36 hours if it is actually reported as well. So that is one of the liability that is actually kept on top of the intermediate platforms. So that is it for today. We actually discussed about close to 20 to 21 topics, which are the important topics from 7th to 11th of November. So in the next week again we will be coming with a prelims focus videos, because prelims, so we need to actually articulate more topics to prelims so that we can actually achieve the target of qualifying the prelims this year. So we will be mainly discussing about the prelims topics and what are the possible prelims topics that actually can come from the current affairs that is presently there. So if you like my video, please share, like and subscribe. Thank you and have a nice day, and we will be seeing again in the next week. Thank you and have a nice day.